court judge, and we'll work this out if it's passed. But the general idea is that we will create basically an affidavit. It'll be a checklist form for the officers, and it'll have the tiers, and they will just simply go down there and kind of fill in the blanks. And then there will be a date section for each offense, and then a narrative, and they will email that to the judge so that we don't have to wait for municipal court dates. And then the judge would email it back, and then that limited access form is where it would have all the due process for whoever receives it. It would, would outline you are, for the next 90 days, you cannot be here for this, this, and that. If you want to appeal, here's the process. So we envision one stop shop document once that's approved. That was the most efficient way we would come up. We didn't want to wait for municipal court and then bog that down.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. I might ask about Section 7. That's the enforcement zones themselves in the current document. So the essential change seems to me to be that we have shifted from, we had one enforcement zone, which was essentially the downtown, shifted from that to these 3 enforcement zones. I guess I have a couple of questions along these lines, which is one, city parks and areas that were owned by the city were included in the previous draft. I didn't catch that their distinction in this part of the zone, or this part of the enhancement zones. Is that intentional? Is that a change that we were looking to make, or am I missing that?
Yeah, I'll defer to Blake. I don't think it was intentional, but I do know we have the ability to have someone barred from a park for up to a year, and then the way that works is if they don't agree with it, they can appeal to the director of parks, Jonah, and he could waive that. So that's already in place.
That's existing.
Yeah.
Okay. And it looks like, so now we've got 3 zones that are laid out in this portion. Can you talk through what happens if someone gets one of these orders in the downtown? What are their options after that? If they continue creating violations in a different zone, what happens in that instance? Can you explain that to myself and the public?
Yes, it would be a fresh start for each section. So you can't do one violation here, one upper town, and one downtown and get exiled from all. They apply to each zone, and the offense would have to occur in each zone. So you could end up with limited access to downtown, and they move to upper town and they comply with the laws and they're just fine. Or if they continue behavior up there, that would get them on this list, and their access would be limited for there as well. So really they're getting 3 bites at the apple. And this is also to address the concerns that if we just focused on downtown, we would push them out to other areas of the city and cause problems there. So
like my constituents in Uniontown can use this same mechanism if someone has relocated to Uniontown and from their perspective causing problems, they have the same thing to fall back on.
Yes.
Okay, and can you talk me through, so right now this has a sunset date of 2 years. Can you talk me through why that is, what we're going for there?
So at the work session, it was mentioned that would a sunset clause make sense in terms of you try for 2 years, that would give sufficient time to find out if this is an effective tool, which staff was advocating for. And if at the end of 2 years, council would review it again, if they felt that it did not provide the expected outcome, then it could either go away or it could be renewed and become a maybe permanent fixture. So it was an opportunity to have a forced review on the ordinance.
Is there a specific staff interest in 2 years as a marker?
We thought that would be just the minimum amount of time to see if this is an effective tool for staff. Given, as what the chief mentioned too, you have multiple opportunities to comply in 3 different zones. And then if you actually get to a point of having a limited access order, you have 90 days. And then after 90 days, that limited access order would be removed. So again, we felt 24 months was a sufficient time to see if it actually was a workable way to actually deal with this.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. That's all the questions I have at the moment. Thank you, Mayor.
Great. Thank you, Councilor Davis. Other questions? for staff? Not seeing any. Council discussion. Councilor Adams.
Sorry, Mayor. Thank you. I just wanted to speak to the zones in relation to our camping ordinance. And is it correct that our time, place, and manner is only in one of these zones for our camping ordinance?
If you look at the map, the majority of areas in the downtown core, but it does involve areas of Uniontown, especially along Marine and Highway 30, all in the upper town, and then it actually loops around 202.
So my question, I guess, is if someone is excluded from a particular zone, will that prohibit them from being able to camp in accordance with our camping ordinance in other zones?
No, as long as they comply with the camping ordinance, time, manner, place, that if there is no shelter availability, then they are allowed to be in the sidewalk in the designated areas, which is the map shows in our camping ordinance, which covers both 3 areas and actually beyond that they would be allowed to do that as long as it's between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m.
Thank you.
All right. Council discussion.